Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to From Zero to Revenue, a show that features the journey of successful entrepreneurs from around the world. I'm your host, Chris Yap. Today, we are here to discuss how two very successful entrepreneurs transformed their idea to reality. More so, how they adapted quickly as leaders amid the ongoing pandemic. I'd like to thank our sponsor, GabTech Global, your go-to company for virtual assistants. You can learn more about their services at www.gabtechglobal.com. I am very excited to introduce our guests today. I've known and admired them for over a decade now. Please welcome CEO of Valor Global, Simer Mayo, and CEO of HotFoot Recruiters, Roy Palomo. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me here.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Doing excellent. Ready for the happy hour right after this video conferencing, so we'll make it quick.
There you go. Yeah, that sounds good. Me too. I know it has been a crazy few months here for everybody around the world. But, in today's show, I really want to, inspire our audience, especially those who are going through some hard times right now in their businesses. And there are a lot of them, right? And those who are still thinking of starting their own businesses. So, Simer, let's start with you. Tell us about your company, about Valor Global. I know you have several companies and what you guys do, what you specialize in, and what makes you guys unique.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for taking time for today. So Valor started Valor 16 years ago. April 20th was our 16th, sweet 16th birthday. So we've been blessed to have a great team, great leadership team, great people. And I think you brought up a point of the challenges that people have seen over the last couple months. I'll start with that. I think the world has changed. What we knew the world was 2 months ago is very different. And there's a lot of uncertainty of what the world will be 2 months from now. Uh-huh. And that really kind of gets to the core of running any business or being an entrepreneur is having the right people and right team around. So I'll say it again, we're blessed to have, we're about 2,500 employees now globally, growing 3 countries, 7 different cities now within those countries, and so growing. And one of the things from day one till now it's been consistent is the culture that we build and try to build. It's really at the end of the day, it's about people. We do provide call center services. I have 5 other companies that we own and operate. And those companies are almost the same size, growing significantly in different areas. But Valor's the company I started, my first company, and been blessed going through that. I will tell you, last 2 months has been humbling, rewarding, scary. We've been, again, blessed that people are safe. Our employees' families are safe. And we're just continue to do what we're doing right now and serve our clients.
Awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned something very key there, culture, which I know both you and Roy are very big on. We'll touch more on that a little bit more. But Roy, tell us about HotFoot Recruiters, what you do, what you specialize in, and what makes you unique in this space.
You bet. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk about HotFoot Recruiters on your show, and kudos to you and everything that you built with your career and your company. So again, thank you for that. So HotFoot Recruiters is a staffing firm that we started about a little over 10 years ago. We started the HotFoot in a time where we were in the middle of a recession, which probably wasn't the brightest idea at the time, but we kind of threw our hat in the ring at that time, and with a few lucky rolls of the dice, we had some things fall into place, and we're able to get through the 2009, 2010 era And here we are now, 10 years later. And so we're a staffing firm that concentrates in two verticals, kind of that we specialize in. On the manufacturing production side, we've carved out a very good name for ourselves. And along in that manufacturing production arena would be engineering as well. Engineering area, higher level roles, usually are for our executive search team. HotFoot we do executive search placements. We also do, contract to hire. And we've also maneuvered into the RPO space, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But kind of back to the manufacturing, production realm, we've seemed to find a little bit of success in the aerospace arena. We know that there's quite a bit of that here in Arizona, and so we found quite a bit of success there. The other side of the house that we work in is the contact centers, the customer service contact centers. We have been able to kind of prove ourselves with some of the larger companies in the U.S. and now we've been able to get a seat at the table with some larger companies because of the work that we have done in the past. So, companies that are well into the billions of dollars of revenue per year have been able to invest their trust in us, and we've been able to perform, which is something I've been really proud of. And that's something, that we worked for a long time. HotFoot being 10 years old, we have certainly evolved. And we are now, very happy that we can, have a seat at the table with some of these larger, staffing firms and larger organizations because of what we proved in the past. So, it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of pivoting and a lot of being flexible to get to where we're at. So we're pretty local to Arizona, but we have placements all across the country. We've been able to do executive searches and placements in about 16 different states in the U.S. So we got a great reach. We have a great team. Like I had talked about earlier, we are able to do executive search, and we are able to do production work as far as high volume wave hiring as well. So we do have great range as a group and a lot of flexibility. Understand that during the time of the pandemic, a lot of companies either had to pivot or, kind of stand pat and try to, ride this wave and see if they can come out on the other side. That's where I'm kind of thankful that HotFoot's always stayed flexible with their recruiting verticals that we worked in. And, when one faucet turned off, we concentrated on the other side and we're able to open that one up. And, we'll be, happy to talk about that later, but that's what we found our ability to be versatile came in handy during this time, which we're very thankful for and very blessed for.
And, those are the kind of stories that really excite me, hearing this kind of stories. Obviously, Simer, Roy, I've known you guys for over 10 years now, right? And Simer, first of all, Simer, congratulations on the 16th year. I didn't even realize you've been around for that long already. And that's just amazing because you've grown astronomically from the first time we met. And I think that was 2008 when we first met through a common friend. When you conceptualize having your own company, I would imagine you told me at one point how old you first were when you thought of having your own company. But when you conceptualize having your company, what was your vision and how did you basically transform that vision to reality given, where you are today? It's just incredible.
Yeah, so I think we did talk about this a long time ago, but I think we may have had too many drinks at that time, Chris. So starting the company was an opportunity. As you remember, I grew up in India, so coming to the U.S., again, land of opportunities and true capitalism.
Sure.
Right? Starting the company was to achieve a lifelong goal, purpose that I have, and marrying my wife really kind of solidified that. But the starting Valor at that point was we saw great opportunity, underserved market, a lot of over promises, under delivery. And that's how we started. We started as an IT company, a technology company. And since then, we bought a lot of other technology companies, and now we run the technology side under a different brand. And when you and I met, we got involved on the call center side around that time. But it was really kind of focusing on trying to do the right thing, build something that I didn't see as an employee myself from the company I was working with. I really enjoyed the company. I learned a lot from the owner at that time. His name's Paul. We still talk here and there, Paul Delaso. But one of the things that we couldn't get done, or he couldn't get done at that time, was really kind of delivering on what we're promising the customers. And so that's been my focus from day one, is build something that we can be proud of, and profits and monies will come, right? We take care of our employees. It's part of our core values. Take care of our customers and invest in our community. Everything else is a byproduct of that, right? If we do those first three things right, we'll be successful. We were a small company in 2008, Chris, when you and I met. Yeah. We had a big, hairy, audacious goal, and we set that up right at the top of recession time of 2020, $100 million. And everybody laughed at me at that time. It was like, hey, what are you doing? And we're like, that's our BHAG. We're going to target that. And I'm very proud of our team that we're achieving that BHAG, and we've set a new BHAG for 2025. And it's not about the money part now. It's really about kind of the employees and families and people that we touch and we take care of, and who really help build what we are now. And being a big sports fan, as Chris, you may remember, I've really incorporated the sports analogy, the good teams, and none of those teams I'm a fan of. So I'll talk about Patriots, San Antonio Spurs, and Golden State Warriors. I'm a Cardinals and Suns fan for life. But what those guys did, they built a great organization, maybe not so much on culture of people, but culture of winning, right? And then really figured out how to plug in the right people in the right places. So your original question on kind of how we took our vision and really kind of made it a reality, I will give a lot of credit to these three organizations, really learning from them to kind of what works and what doesn't work, and how do you really put the right people at right seats, and how do you really take care of people and help them achieve their potential, because these organizations are the best example of B and C players coming in and then turning into A players. And that's the mindset that we use at Valor.
Right. And you mentioned, your reason to kind of set up the company essentially was kind of improving something that exists. It's not exactly like inventing a new product or a new iPhone or something like that, but you wanted to improve something, and obviously you're very passionate about it. I've known you for a long time. In the last 10 years that you've grown, I'm sure you've encountered several challenges, right? How often or how important was it reminding yourself, why you started the company in the first place? How important did that why play during those challenging moments?
It's all about the why. It's really about the purpose. It's everything we do, and Roy can speak to this too, is as entrepreneurs, it's very lonely, right? I mean, we're responsible for so many things and very few areas to look to, right? And so the why becomes a real, I'm not a motivational guy. I don't believe in motivation. I believe in commitment. So for me, it's like commitment is the most critical thing. If we're committed to doing something, we're going to see it through. So our commitment is to our employees, their families, our customers, their businesses, our community, and continue expanding that. And oftentimes, and I'll tell you, last 2 months, that purpose has really helped us actually grow significantly. And it really comes from our team living that purpose day in, day out. When the COVID-19 thing started in Arizona, I believe March 13th or so, our team came up with Apollo 13's Our Finest Hour clip. They sent it over and they said, hey, here's everything that's going wrong, but this is going to be our finest hour. And at that time, we didn't realize how critical that 30-second clip is going to become part of our lives. So So to your point, it's the why is what drives business. The what's and who and how is the later part. 99%. There's a video from Simon Sinek who talks about the why, the purpose. And if we align our purpose, we align our whys, and have the people that they're kind of focusing on the same thing, the hows, what's, and who's. That's easier said than done. I mean, that's easier done and easy thing to do there.
I love it. That's amazing. And Roy, we, like I said, we met, I think, like 2009. I remember we were having lunch in it was in Desert Ridge. I remember you vividly because I can't forget, because that's the first time I met you through another friend. And dude, you were so buff. This guy is huge. But on top of that, you said something that was, was striking, because that time you said, you're starting HotFoot, and the income you were getting, because you're starting and you had an investor, was like, you could hardly kind of fit in all your bills, right? But fast forward 10 years, almost 11 years this year, you've built a multi-million-dollar company. How does that feel, right? And, when you conceptualize having this company, again, how do you transform the vision and basically transform that into reality and more?
I'll take you back to 2009. That vision wasn't there yet. It wasn't there yet. The vision and now I would say probably came about 3.5, 4 years ago even. So it evolved to that point. So when we started HotFoot in 2009, right around the meeting that we were talking about, I got that opportunity because I had surrounded by a great network, great friends, successful entrepreneurs themselves, and I had always been just an extremely hard worker, and I was relatively new to the recruiting industry with 2 years under my belt, but it was something I was pretty good at, and somebody had recognized it, a friend of mine had recognized it, and brought this up. You seem like somebody that should run their own company, and I just at that point I didn't see that in myself just yet. So I'm very grateful and thankful for having people in my life that recognize that type of a thing, and it's true. We had a little bit of investment capital to start. For that reason, we weren't paying ourselves that much in the beginning, and that first year was a little tough. The first year we had, we were coming out of the recession, and not too many companies were looking to bring people in. And I'm sure there's plenty of stories like this, but we were looking for potential companies to work with. And I was in this parking lot, and I kind of peeked my head through this door to see what was going on in this warehouse-looking facility. Ran into an HR representative, and they were about to embark on hiring about 200 people for their facility, and they're relatively new to the area, and so that kind of let us take off, gave us the ability to grow, gave us the ability to bring more people on, and that's where it kind of all started. The who is definitely the important factor. Simer, you did a great job explaining that. And bringing the right people on. There is a story I'd like to tell you that although it happened 5 years ago, it is very relevant to what's going on today with the pandemic and what companies are going through. We obtained a client that at the time needed, several. They were either Spanish speakers or bilingual employees, and we were just having a very tough time. Try to find these people. We had myself who spoke very broken Spanish in the office, and not too many other people that could, find these types of candidates. So if I can go back probably 8 years to my previous career, I used to run fitness centers within the school district of Roosevelt and the school district of Tempe. And I used to bring fitness programs to kids that were in kindergarten through 8th grade. It was something on top of their PE program. And I would have students that would come before school or after school to come in and work out. I mean, it's a full-fledged workout. It's not games. It was an actual fitness program. Without going into too much detail, I had lots of students, lots of dedicated students that really loved it. Fast forward up to about 5 years ago, I called this restaurant to order some food, and it was some Mexican food. And I picked up the phone, and the gentleman who answered, I said, wow, that really sounded like one of my students from 15 years ago. And I thought nothing of it, went and got my food, went back to the office. And then 2 years after that, we're talking 2 years later, I called that same place. The only other time I had been there. I've been there twice. And the same person answers. The person's name was exactly who I thought it was going to be. So I drive up there, I get my food, I poke my head backward, and I said, is that so-and-so? And they said, yes, it is. And I go, can you have him come out here? And it was my student. Last time I had seen him, he was in 7th grade, but now he was a grown man, been working at this place for, I think, 15 years as a manager and a dedicated employee. And I said, do me a favor, you come see me after you're done. Brought him in. He is, he speaks Spanish very well. And I said, you know what, let me give you an opportunity here that might be able to change your life and change your situation. And within 2 weeks, we had him here at the office, and he started a pipeline of bilingual employees that we were able to get. And he's very well connected within the community, and most people that are in that community reach out to him from time to time for work. Fast forward now, HotFoot, it has a little bit of a niche within the manufacturing industry in that we can find sewers. When the pandemic hit, companies were looking around to pivot. What can we do? Who's going to be hiring? Who's not hiring? And we had been very successful in the contact center world the past 2 years, and a lot of our revenue was coming from there. But that was one of the areas that slowed down quite a bit. And so we had over the past year we're making good connections with the Arizona Commerce Authority, and we decided to call a meeting with them to say, hey, can you let us know who might be hiring right now, and how we maybe approach them or help. We really wanted to help during this time. And I said, I don't know if you guys do this, but we actually have one of the strongest pipelines of industrial sewers in the state of Arizona. And I know people are trying to figure out ways to do masks and maybe gowns and that type of a thing. So by planting that seed, it took 2 days for us to get connected with a couple of organizations that were doing just that were manufacturing PPE for frontline responders right now. And lo and behold, we were able to pivot, and we were able to start assisting these organizations with labor, to help with this. And so made us feel good, obviously, to help out the community and help out people in the pandemic, going through this pandemic right now. But at the same time, it all started 5 years ago. So you never know when an idea, or if you have the right person in the right spot, it may pay off down the line. And this way it certainly did. It's a story that I've probably told the story several different times about how a student of mine that was 10 years became an employee of mine when he was 25 years old. But now this just added another layer into it with the pandemic and how much he's been able to help, with getting HotFoot through it, but also helping out the community. So
that's awesome. So you mentioned something there that's very, very admirable, as well as it's very common with a lot of entrepreneurs. Because a lot of times when people think of entrepreneurs, they think that when they started, they know everything already, right? But the reality of being an entrepreneur, it's kind of like jumping off the cliff. Then when you jump, that's only the time you start building your parachute.
Yeah.
And, oftentimes it's always, not always, but oftentimes it's like that. In doing so, how critical was the people around you, the network? I know you mentioned that, you were just surrounded by these people. Did you have a mentor who was kind of guiding you through the process? If you did, how important is that in the entire I guess, process of the entrepreneurship?
I didn't necessarily have a mentor specifically, but as I alluded to earlier, I had several friends that were very successful in the organization they had created and that they had built and that they were currently running. And, anytime an idea would come up, whether it was, a lot of things were new to me. Marketing was new to me, branding was new to me. I knew how to recruit. I knew how to fill seats. I knew how to talk to people. That was my strength. A lot of the other things were very new to me. So it was always asking questions, and sometimes I was laughed out of the room with some ideas that I thought were going to go correctly, or that I thought, hey, what do you think if I do this for the company? And I was laughed out of the room a few times and they explained why. And again, very fortunate to have those types of bounce ideas off of, and to get advice from. So it wasn't anybody in particular, but it was more network that I had created, throughout my life that I leaned on quite a bit, and lucky to have.
Awesome. All right. Now, Simer, you've got two other companies, that you kind of built along the way. Tell us a little bit about those two other companies and what's your style? How do you kind of juggle your time and stay focused, in each enterprise? Because, we're talking all three companies they're pretty large. What's your, I guess, strategy in, making sure every company is taken care of almost equally and with proper growth and proper nurturing? How do you do that?
Yeah, so we have built kind of the KPIs, so the key performance indicators of every kind of action we take in the company. So it aligns with our values. And then from those KPIs, we have scorecards. So we have a dashboard that we look at every day. I mean, I still have it open on my laptop, red, yellow, and green, super green. So we look at that. The previous question that you were asking, Roy, I'll just take part of that and answer this is, when we started the business, we didn't have a business kind of a book or something and say, here's how to run business. Mm-hmm. And to a lot of trial and error, a lot of failures. And I'll tell you this, I'm a big believer in failing. But failing fast. And that's been our mantra in the company is like, we're gonna try to put our best effort to get it done. And if we fail, it's okay. We're going to learn and we're going to just move on and continue kind of getting to the right way. But what it did was got us to a point where we build kind of our own internal business operating system to run business. And that's been a key kind of a contributor to our growth, where we can see every metric that's happening in the business in real time. Now, our team is updating this daily, and we got hundreds of people in different countries working on those reports to get it to clients, employees. But that's how we run the business. Really, at the end of the day, it's red, yellow, and green. Every department, every company, president, their teams have their own KPIs. We're able to see that. And if they are in the red, what are the countermeasures we're using? So we're a big lean shop. So we have incorporated lean within our business. We've got a lot of lean certified people. And it's very unique in call centers and IT companies and neurotech companies. All of that is people don't incorporate lean, but that was our kind of a secret sauce to put that with the dashboards to really see, are we doing this right? And if we're not, how do we pivot? How do we course correct ourselves? And then the actions that we're taking, are those correct? Right? So it's a very fast moving kind of business, and that's where we have to find the right people that believe in change. And change is the most challenging part for a lot of people because people don't like to change. It impacts their personal lives, and impacts their family lives. And oftentimes we want certain things a certain way. We all want our coffee in the morning the same way. And anytime it's different, we're like not in a good mood in the morning. So that's the same thing with business. So what this helped us do was change very fast and pivot very fast. So very transparent too. So it really kind of puts accountability on everybody in the company is like, are we doing this right or not? And that builds alignment. And so we've been working on this for the last 12 years. We started this in 2009, 11 years now. So And that's when we came up with our BHAG. And we actually took this model from a book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Warren Harnish. And now it's called Scaling Up. It's like, how do you build a business and build accountability? And that's where we use the sports analogy. The sports team is like, how are they making sure every year, if they have gaps in defense, offense, they're bringing the right people in, plugging in the right spot, and making sure they're delivering. And that's been our model. And we've been blessed to be able to do that. My time is really focused on the strategy side with the leaders to kind of make sure we're doing this right. And then how do we grow? How do we take care of our employees? And how do we continue to invest in our community?
Right. And, obviously the KPI, the process, I know you've always been big on that. And I knew that that's a major ingredient in how you grew fast, like astronomical growth. How are you able to balance the, managing the KPI while managing, the employee engagement and morale? Because like you said, oftentimes we're resistant to change, right? And having thousands of employees, not everyone's going to be open to the changes, right? How do you manage the balance between managing the KPI and keeping the employees engaged?
Yeah, so a lot of mistakes. We've made a lot of mistakes there. But again, I look at people who are committed. And if they are committed, they have the trust that we can get through those situations. And really, trust becomes the key part. We don't want people to fail, right? We all want to win. We all want to be successful. We all want to be able to achieve our dreams. So continue to support that kind of notion and continue to kind of put our money where our mouth is with our investment in our employees. So we build a leadership academy within the business, which our leaders kind of teach new and upcoming, I'll say like level 1 agents, techs, and all that, and promote from within. So it's a lot of kind of a self-learning and kind of making sure that people are understanding that red is not bad. Red means what we're doing is not working, or the expectation is not set up correctly with the client, or the KPI is incorrect. It's like really going into, and this is where the lean part comes in, is the root cause to really understand what we're doing and why it's not working. I mean, I think Einstein or somebody said is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's where I think that I believe KPIs come in handy in saying, we're in red week 1. Okay, we need to course correct. We're in red week 2, week 3. There's an alignment issue. Either the goals are not correct, the team's not correct, something's going wrong. And really then finding the root cause becomes the key thing. And we've been fortunate and blessed to have the right people. And with the high growth, one of the challenges we've had is we've all overgrown our capabilities. So we all are kind of constantly learning. And Roy said that having the right network of people, having people you can reach out to and say, hey, I call it R&D, rip off and duplicate, is like, we're trying to do this, not working. What are you doing that's working? And I'm never shy of asking people kind of what's working for them and what's not working for them. That way we can learn from our mistakes.
So I think what you've said, I think we can incorporate that in a keynote that you mentioned when we were starting this conversation, culture, right? So obviously culture should, that's playing a big part in how all this moving pieces is playing in and how everything's gelling in together. How important is culture in making sure that, employees stay engaged, management embrace the same vision as you do? I mean, I have less than 100 employees, and I find that challenging already. I mean, having 3,000, over 2,000 employees that you have right now, where does culture play in, and how important does that play?
It's all about culture, Chris. Everything we do, at the end of the day, it's really about culture. And look at culture, like if you're in any relationship, marriage, friendship, anything, right? It's, if we say, I know you've been married, and you and I at least married way out of our leagues. I don't know about Roy, but one of the things
I did
is promise something to our wives, and we don't deliver on that. We know the end result, right? we know what happens there. And it's the same thing with any other relationship, right? We commit to something. That's where I go back to commitment, is like, we're committing to taking care of each other. At the end of the day, that's our sole responsibility. And if we deliver on that part, and that's where the who's and how's and what comes in, that's the easier part. If we align our purpose, our culture together, and really deliver on our promises, and we fail too. And it's not that we figured all of this out, but again, then it's fail fast, right? Okay, we didn't do this. What's our course correction here? How do we get back on track? And how do we do that? And people are committed. They will go through kind of crazy times with you. And that's where we've seen is a lot of our employees that started as frontline agents, managers, now are running, they're vice presidents. I mean, you know, Tom and I mean, yep. He's the president of one of our companies and has done incredible. We've a lot of other leaders like that have basically done every role in the company, but they understand kind of what we're trying to do here, what we're building.
And Roy, I know this is one of the things that you're really big on as well, culture. You know, you've got employees in different locations around the US, and you working with Fortune 100 clients. How significant did culture play as far as, you know, reflecting the company culture all the way to your not just employees, but to your clients? You know, how does that play, and how were you able to do that so successfully?
My group of employees is sitting at about 15, so quite a bit less than both of you. But there are certain challenges with having it's about 40% of the team living in a different state. The challenge is that you want them to feel. I love going to work. I love being in the office. I love the feeling of the camaraderie. I love having to see everybody every day. I wake up every morning and look forward to it. And the key is to try to create that with the group that's not there. And you can do that with technology is great these days to be able to include them on meetings and things that we're using technology along those lines. But I think what really helps keep the group engaged and keeps the culture strong is to ask for ideas from them. You talk about ideas and transforming ideas to reality. I think when you get ideas from one of your employees and you turn their idea into a reality, it goes a long way with not only that employee, but the group. And that's something I've really tried to listen to lately and try to cultivate within the group, that it really lets them know that not all the decisions are made from the headquarters here in Phoenix, but you are part of that, of the headquarters, or headquarters as a whole. So I really try to listen to the employees on that side with their ideas and help turn those into the reality, so they really feel a part of what we're doing as a company.
Right. And then, let's talk about people staying. Simer, you mentioned Tom. I know Tom's been with you forever. I love Tom. You've got other employees there who's been there since you guys started, even prior to being Valor Global. What's the secret? I mean, is there a formula? Because, success, it can be defined in many ways, right? Whether it's, financial or whatnot. But I think the success as far as being able to keep your employees engaged and embrace your vision, that's something else. So what's the secret? I mean, for those who are looking to grow their organization, obviously we know that people is key. How do you do it? And you're doing it with 3 different organizations. What's the secret there?
Yeah, well, I wish I had a secret that I could kind of replicate all across, but it really goes back to right people, right seats, right? And in having the right people who are committed, aligned, and your purpose is aligned. I think we started this call with the why, right? As long as their why is aligning with what we're doing and they're seeing the results, they will stay. Then you have to deliver on the promises, right? Again, it's the same thing as marriage. There's a lot of times marriages last for a lifelong, and there's a lot of times marriages don't, because things change, people change. It's the same thing with business. Building that culture, going back to the sports analogy again, is there's very few organizations, and we look at the last 20 years, that have won multiple championships. You look at an NFL, look at an NBA. I don't watch baseball, so I won't go in there. But these two
that's Roy's topic, though. But go ahead.
Yeah, we'll kind of go over that. But there's few organizations that have done this over and over again, right? The Patriots, we saw the Tom Brady and Belichick model. We saw with Steve Kerr at Golden State, and we saw with San Antonio Spurs, multiple championship, and Lakers, right? So how did they do it? They had the same people kind of working on the mistakes that they made the previous seasons, correcting that, bringing the right people in, and they did that over and over again. And then you have star players like Kobe and Brady and all those guys, and you put them together with the right group of people that you can win championships. And as long as you're winning championships, the only reason people will leave is either they want, from these organizations, either they want more money or they want this kind of a different scenery or something, right? So investing in people becomes critical, and then making sure people are able to achieve their dreams. Because at the end of the day, we are just a way of helping them achieve what they have the potential for, right? And if it's not with us, that's the last thing we want to do is hold them and keep them there, because we're not doing justice to them and to their potential there.
Gotcha. As leaders, we are often criticized, and mentioned earlier that it's lonely on top. How do you are there like certain routines you do in the day? Like, I know there are certain people who's got certain routines that prime themselves, like Anthony Robbins. Are you practicing any of these? Because I've always believed that as an individual, we're composed of 3 B's, right? Our being, our body, and our brain, right? And I'm a big believer on taking care of those 3 aspects every day. And I think that's probably the only reason how I kept my sanity over this last decade in going through the ups and downs. But do you have like a specific routine that works for you? And how important is that in your day-to-day life?
Roy, you want to take it?
Yeah. Well, I think as you said in 2009, how buff I was in 2009, I would kill to get back to that point now. but it shows exercise has always been big for me. I start my morning, both my wife and I start our mornings out in the morning with a workout. Now that has changed with the pandemic. We can't go to that gym, that class every morning for 5 a.m. But we'll change that into workouts at 7 in the morning out by the pool via video. And that is, for me, the body's the mind right for me. That allows me to stay sharp. It really sets the day that you've already accomplished something that takes quite a bit of exertion, but supplies you with a lot of energy throughout the day. And there is definitely a difference between a day that you do not have your exercise regimen in to the days that do. To keep the mind straight, to keep the mind crisp, to keep the mind tight. I do just listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of shows like this to try to learn more and get more information. I'm not much of a reader, but I will listen to information, and I will read for information. I won't necessarily read for pleasure or fiction or anything like that, but I like to gather as much information as possible. So, always open to hearing about new things that other people are listening to, and other ways to get motivated and other ways to learn.
Awesome.
Just to add to that, Chris, I mean, it's the last 60 days, at least one of the things it's given us is kind of staying at home, right? We've all traveled all over the world and constantly on the go. But what it's allowed us to do is really kind of take that time to reflect, to really look at what's happening around us and how fortunate and blessed we are and how we can continue to help others getting through this. And so I jokingly call it 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. routine. You meditate at 5 a.m., you drink at 5 p.m., and life is good, right? If you're able to do that, things are okay. But to Roy's point, I think the key part there as entrepreneurs, we got to look at is kind of what's going on around us, right? There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of uncertainty, and our biggest responsibility is to make sure that our teams, their families are taken care of, and we don't add to that uncertainty. So over communication is critical right now. Getting on daily huddles and getting on kind of the team messaging and all that, just it's very critical, especially right now. And then reaching out to other entrepreneurs. I'm part of a group called YPO, GPL. I reach out to those guys every day. It's like, hey, I'm running into this scenario. What will you do? I have a forum, YPO forum, Charlie. And I talk to my guys all the time. It's like, what are they seeing, right? So we can be better prepared when we go to our employees and answer those questions, that we can do a good job. I was on a call earlier, and our governor was speaking there, and he's done an incredible job. And I don't want to talk about politics, but what he keeps saying is, I'm focusing on Arizona. And so my focus is very similar from a business standpoint is, I'm not going to solve the government's problem. I'm not going to solve all these things that are going around us. Is how do we focus on the problem we have? That's our employees, their day-to-day stuff, our customers, their day-to-day stuff, and the community things that we're involved with. So I think to your original question as entrepreneurs, how do we stay focused? And then that's where the meditate part comes in. And by the end of the day, you're so beat up, it's like you need a drink. And that's where the 5 p.m. drink comes in. So
I agree 100%. That's my routine right there as well. Although I got to admit, the drinking part, I kind of let go a little bit just because I'm getting old and I'm feeling some joint issues here and there. Especially on air. But hey, that's reality. I do miss my single malt though.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing about Simer, you mentioned something, you know, that kind of remind me of our, you know, from, you know, the early days in our relationship. You mentioned focus, right? There was one day you told me that, you know, because at that time I was dabbling on different things, and you said that, Chris, if you can focus on something, you'll be great. That stuck to me until today. And I really took that by heart. I really did. What would you advise because as entrepreneurs, it's so easy for us to get excited, right? Like we get an idea, like it's so easy to dabble into that. And I'm guilty because I have the ability to connect dots so quickly. And then I get excited, I see the potential, and then I try to do something. But eventually it distracts me from what I originally kind of wanted to do. But in your case, you know, you're able to stay focused, but still able to venture into, you know, other enterprise. How do you strike that balance between staying focused and keeping your mind open to other opportunities? How did you get that done?
Well, and that's the tough part. It's challenging, right? Because I mean, grass is always greener the other side, right? And it's
arguably.
Yeah, and so it really goes back to the commitment part. It's like, okay, what are we trying to achieve here, right? What's the end goal? If the end goal is really you want to build something that has a certain KPI to it, I want to get to this number of employees, number of financial, whatever that is. Till you get to that point, that's still work in progress. Very few people know this, and I'll share with you, I only read 3 books in the last 10 years, business books. And I'm still working on getting those books 100% implemented. I'm about 50% done. And I stopped reading books because everybody gets all these ideas. And for my thing is like, let's get this done 100%. And once we get this done 100%, we'll see the results. And we're at 50% and we're growing crazy, and we're fixing our mistakes, and doing that is bringing a lot of other opportunities. I mean, last 3-4 years, we ventured from being IT call center neurotech, investing in a sports team. Now we're working on a mining business. So we're adding a lot of different businesses in there, but those are the opportunities that are coming from doing the core business. And I remember that conversation you and I had in our Scottsdale office, and it's the same thing that you have done incredible. You're such a talented guy. You have so much potential, and just kind of harnessing all that energy into one area is the most critical thing. I learned this a few years ago, 5 years ago, from my YPO Charlie group. One of my friends, Paul, and said that I was trying to join a whole lot of boards and other things. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, you have an obligation to your business, to your employees, and all the things. And you're trying to do all these other things that don't align with your kind of core goals. So really aligning that part and reaching out and asking people. One thing I've learned is there's so many people that want to help you. They may not be able to help you in ways that you need help, but they will be able to share their experiences and really tell you what not to do. And oftentimes in entrepreneurs, that's our biggest mistakes we do, is we see the sexiness out there and we just kind of start following that and forget the why we're in this to begin with.
Yeah, and I think to your point, as far as, staying focused on to why you're doing it. I mean, like, as I recently, I accepted an opportunity. I bought into an opportunity with Notice.co. And my biggest, I think, reason for doing that was because it allowed me to work with such great people. Like my partner there, I've got two partners there, Dolph and Paul. It's just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom you get from them. And the joining that kind of enabled me just to have that easy access with that wealth of wisdom. And obviously it aligns with what I want to do, what I want to achieve, which is I want to serve entrepreneurs. They're a marketing firm and I'm an outsourcing firm, and I got married together. It just made sense. But, I'm not trying to justify that, I kind of got out of focus with the company. But when you have those opportunities, those are opportunities that just so difficult to say no, right? Especially when it involves, it's going to help you achieve what you want to do, which to me, ultimately, like I said, when it's my time to leave Earth, I want to be remembered as, yeah, that guy helped me grow my business. That's, if a client would talk and give a eulogy about me, that's how I want to be remembered. That guy helped me grow. And that's kind of my personal commitment. I feel that that's my personal why. And that's why I'm in this business, right? And that's why I have you guys as part of my network, which I'm so blessed to have you guys around. So my point is, for those listening, you really have to surround yourself with the right people, right? And I'd say to start with at home. I'm super blessed to have the wife that I have. Hazel, my rock. I mean, she gets me, and she's probably the only person who's crazy enough to just to kind of tolerate the entrepreneur in me, which, having that support system, not just on the business side, but on the personal side, it's key. Well, I don't know if Vicky's listening right now, so yeah, you're a lucky man. Not only is Vicky really talented, smart, but, there's a chemistry, and same goes with you, Roy. I mean, it's that chemistry and that understanding. It's just kind of solidifies. It just makes it, I wouldn't say easier, but it allows you to do what you're passionate about without having any conflict. Imagine having a household where, this is what you're passionate about, but you can't bring it home because there's no chemistry. I don't know if that's really going to work, but I guess in our case, obviously it's easy for us because we're lucky to have the wives that we have right now. But we're very close to kind of ending the show. I just wanted to kind of touch on this point. I know both of you are really big on giving back to the community, right? Simer, tell us a little bit about, what are your initiatives? From the moment I've met you, you've always been big on that. What are you guys doing right now, and how important is that in the entire culture of your company?
Yeah, so that's part of our values, kind of what we do, why we do it, and we're currently engaged several different community initiatives, helping a lot of local businesses. I don't know if you saw the recent stat, only 25% of the local businesses in Arizona got the PPE loan. So we partner with a company called Local First Arizona that's helping businesses that didn't get the loans. And so we're working with them to engage with that. We're supporting the Cardinals Carryout Initiative. So we're doing a lot of things there. And our Cardinals, we love the Cardinals. Michael Bidwell's done an incredible job there building that. And so we're doing a lot of things there as well, working with local restaurants and local places. Food drives, a lot of food drives right now. I mean, believe it or not, even in Scottsdale, a lot of kids in Scottsdale school districts were on the program for free lunches, and they're not getting the lunches. And we're only getting 1 meals right now. So we're working towards that. And then we're working on kind of the homeless shelter thing where we believe, and we've seen the numbers recently, a lot of the people, as they go back and we have a high unemployment rate in the country, there's going to be a big impact on homelessness. So how do we kind of help and solve those things and get out of there? So yeah, so it's a challenging time, but again, we're blessed to be where we are and giving back. And we don't call it giving back, but it's really part of who we are, and what we're doing is key for us.
Awesome. And Roy, I know you've got some initiatives as well with nonprofit. What are you doing on that end?
Yeah, so on a personal note, I do belong to an organization here in Scottsdale called the Scottsdale Charros. That we're a nonprofit organization, and we support about 30 plus charities here in the Scottsdale community, and as well as the Scottsdale School District with money throughout the year. So a group I'm very, very happy to be, very proud to be a part of. That is a group that is, inundated with leaders of their industry as well as entrepreneurs that we get to talk to on a daily, weekly basis. So very fortunate to be connected with them. As far as the company with HotFoot Recruiters, what we have done is right when the pandemic started and we saw the effect that it was going to have on companies, there were companies that, didn't really have any other option but to cease operations. But we knew there were some companies still that were going to forge on. And if there was a way for us to, and in order to forge on, people still needed to hire labor. And so we immediately discounted fees out there to all of our clients for the next couple months, as far as any personnel that they were going to bring on through HotFoot Recruiters, to help them manage and just get very flexible with any of the pricing structure we had before. And so we immediately implemented that into our model to see if we could, just help any company out there that needed it at the time.
So just to wrap up here, Roy, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are struggling right now, especially with the pandemic, and or those, want to be entrepreneurs? What advice would you give them in today's economic environment?
On the big picture is persevere. Just stay with it and grind it out. Even at the time, if it doesn't look great, still continue to fight, because we were very lucky as a company to, I think the term I use was getting a lucky roll of the dice back in 2009 with the company that we happened to stumble upon. So all the work that you're doing, all the grinding that you're doing, and it will pay off. It will. So keep fighting the good fight. And the only other, advice I would give is, and we've talked about this ad nauseum today with human capital and the people you bring to your organization. Not everybody's going to be a home run, but if someone that you bring into the organization is not a fit for the organization, just make sure you learn from it. Make sure you learn from it and take the data from there and use that information to improve your organization down the road. And that's something, it's taken us a long time to learn, but that's how you're going to ensure that you just don't make the same mistake twice. And, if you invest in your human capital, it's going to make you feel very comfortable to take on a new project that you might not have been ready for a year ago. But if you have the right people that buy into your philosophy, that feel empowered to make their own decisions and have the tools that they need to do their job well, that's going to allow you to take those chances, take on bigger projects, and allow you to grow.
That's a great advice. And Simer?
Well, Roy really hit it, and I'll just add is kind of reach out to other entrepreneurs right now. We've set up a mentoring group. We've had several CEOs running businesses from $50 million to $1 billion, $50 million to $1 billion companies right now, kind of volunteering their time to help businesses, kind of just helping them get through what they're going through right now, and just get some kind of advice, whether it's your P&L advice, cash advice, decision-making advice, and run those different scenarios by these guys who have experienced this. And the key part there really, and Roy brought this up, is your people, right? Make decisions in the best interest of your company, and people needs to come first, right? Not profits, not other things, because if you have the right people committed to helping you get through this, we'll all get through this. It is going to be tough, right? But once you get through this, every crisis, there's some opportunity in there, and just stay calm, because those guys are going through so much uncertainty on their own. The last thing they want is to see us panicking and going crazy. So I think the mentoring part is I've seen working a lot. A lot of local businesses right now are struggling. They're reaching out. They're talking to other CEOs that are kind of have gone through similar experiences. And at the end of the day, that's what we really need at times, is like not just the hope part. I don't use hope a lot. Hope's not a strategy for me, but just get to kind of get your direction of what is the right direction and what is the outcome you're really looking for. And just be honest with yourself. I mean, this is the time we all need to be honest to ourselves, look in the mirror and see what we're doing, why we're doing.
Awesome. I love it. And I would give the same advice. Absolutely the same. Guys, this has been an amazing show. Thank you so much for being here. But before we go, Simer, for people who want to contact you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I can give you my email, my cell phone number. I had an article, I think a week or two ago in Phoenix Business Journal. They posted my email and phone number. I'm talking to a lot of CEOs right now, and I'm connecting them with other CEOs if I'm not available. And I believe we're spending about 2 to 3 hours a day right now talking to a lot of different companies. So happy to talk to anyone.
As far as website, would you like to share your website, Simer?
Yeah, valorglobal.com. My email is my first name, last name at valorglobal.com.
Awesome. And Roy, contact information for people who want to reach you with?
You bet. I'll give you, several avenues to go to. LinkedIn is a very easy one. You can reach out to me. I'm constantly on that platform. Our HotFoot Recruiters website, hotfootrecruiters.com. Even if you were to select contact info, that email will go directly to me. And my email address is rpalomo, that's RPALOMO, at hotfootrecruiters.com.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for being here at the show. And again, this is Chris Yap with GapTech Global, your go-to company for virtual assistants specializing in LinkedIn marketing, talent sourcing, digital marketing, and online course development. You can find us online at www.gaptechglobal.com. which is also the proud sponsor of this show, From Zero to Revenue. I will see you in May. Remember, as Stephen Covey said, all things are created twice, first in the mind, then in reality. Take care.